Good morning, dear students. Welcome to Vista's We-Learning. My name is Denzil, your physics tutor for class 11. So let's get started with today's topic. So our discussion will be based on science, technology, how it has an impact on society. This is a session 2 of the chapter Physical World. Now, the age that we live in currently, there are a lot of resources that we find around. These resources are readily and easily accessible to us. Now, some of those resources are used by us to reduce the human effort, like those heavy machineries. When you have to construct the building as well, you use heavy machineries even in that case. And also some of the resources are used to make us smarter every day. Now, what resources are there, you may ask? Like the television, the internet. And this internet can be viewed using a laptop or a cell phone. Now, again, there are some more resources which are used by us in order to explore the vastness of space, like the satellites. Now, you might remember there are two such satellites which have actually crossed our solar system. And those satellites are Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. So, if a resource itself is so readily accessible to us where it can reduce our effort, make us smarter every day and also help us explore more about space, what are these roots for these resources? Where do they emerge from? Now, that answer is actually from science and technology. So let's have a look at how science and technology have impacted our lives. So we begin with this question: how does science and technology impact society? Let's take the case when you wake up in the morning. Now, in order to remind you that it's time to wake up, what you use is an alarm clock. It could be an analog alarm clock or a digital alarm clock. But you see, the analog and digital have different features. In case of a digital alarm clock, it has more features. What are those various more features? Some of the alarm clock give you what is the month, the day, the date and the day. In case of a digital clock, it does not provide you with such information. It notes down only the time is shown to you, displayed, or you can set an alarm for an analog. Now, if I take you back to 100 years ago, finding an analog clock with everyone, it's very hard. So what other instrument did they have to wake themselves up? Was there such alarm? Yes, there was one such, which is a rooster. A rooster which is used in order to wake them up. All right? So there's a drastic change from a rooster, which is helpful to wake you up, to an alarm clock that we use today. Let's take another instance. Cell phone. We use cell phone in order to communicate people across the globe, to connect any person in this world. Now, there are more features to the smartphone that we have today. Today's smartphone, you cannot, not just that you can communicate to the other person using the audio, but also video call. So you have the option of a video call and an audio call. But just 10 years ago, you did not have the option of a video call on a cell phone. But now you do. But if I take you back for 100 years ago, what was the means of communication then? Well, it was the post. When was the last time you wrote a letter to your friend or your family, to any of your mates, using a post? Well, you say that it's easier to use an easier to send a mail using a cell phone rather than writing. Why? It has reduced our human effort. At the same time, I still remember the time that I grew up was using these telephones, dial-up telephones, where you have to insert your finger into the dial and rotate it, and that dials the particular number. So today we have a 10-digit cell phone numbers. Now if you have to dial up those 10-digit cell phone numbers, you have to rotate those individual numbers as 10 times. Okay? So you see a change once again. From age that we live in, cell phone, and the past, which is a telephone, there's a change. Let's take another example. Let's take a look at another example here. Now, due to the current pandemic situations, I hope you're all safe at home. So due to the current pandemic situation, we are all conducting this online class. We take up this online class, which is a virtual class. In fact, you can have a look at your friends in the virtual class. You communicate, you text your friends through this online class, you message them how they are and so on, right? But if I take you 100 years back, if the same pandemic situation arose, what would people do? What would kids do in order to learn things? They cannot go to school because there's a pandemic. So what would be the means of schooling? Now, one such means is using a radio, right? So if it was in the past, then it would be a radio communication. Well, children will be limited. The knowledge would be limited. Here you have an opportunity to learn them using the visual means. You can look at the pictures in the online classes, but 100 years ago, if I take even 50 years ago, you cannot see them as pictures, you only listen to the classes. So now you can imagine how hard kids find it, especially if it is only the listening. So, given these are the examples, then last piece of information where we use a TV in order to gain the information. We use TV as a part of entertainment as well. But what about back then 100 years ago? Did people watch TV to obtain information, gain information? Nope, it was the newspaper. Newspaper was a source of information back then. But now you have a television. So what about entertainment? Again, newspaper have those, some comic strips, puzzles. Now those were the entertainments for them. So big difference. So why is there a difference in the past to the present, that the age that we live in? So how is it so different? What exactly happened in that timeline? Well, due to the improvement of science, discoveries, more discoveries in, let me select the ink. Give me one moment. I need to select the ink. I need to search for the ink. Getting ink. Yes. Hi. Highly unusual. Yeah, got it. There you go. All right. So due to the improvement, the discoveries that we make in science and the improvements in the technology have a greater impact on society. So if you're looking forward to future, so what would our future be like? Then you must get the latest update in what's happening in science and technology. So over a period of just a century, 100 years, you see what drastic change occurs from a newspaper to currently televisions that are flat screened, HD quality televisions. So a big difference. So what would happen for next 100 years? Now, in order to gain that information, stay tuned with what's happening in science and technology. And also stay tuned with our Vista Learning, where we provide quality education to all the students. Do visit us at www.we-learning.in to get more details about the classes. So let's move on to the next, which is Again, how does a science have an impact on science and technology have impact on society? Meet my friend Bob. Bob is a Stone Age man. Now, if Bob has to move from one destination to another, what different means of transport will he take? Well, Bob, my friend here, is a Stone Age man. So the means of transport that you would assume that if he's in a Stone Age era, then it would be a donkey or a horse or by walking, animal or just by walking. But if I get Bob from the past to the future, that is the present age, what different means will Bob use in order to move from one destination to another? Well, he can use a train, an aeroplane, a ship, cars, bikes, mopeds, cycles, a lot more. So you see, from the time which is from Stone Age to a present, even the means of transport has changed drastically. So what would be the other means of transport in the future? Again, how do I know what will be in the future? Stay tuned with science and technology. So the latest news about teleportation, vanishing from one place and appearing in a different place at an instant. Well, again, to get more of those news, how that is possible, how can it happen? Science, follow science and technology. So here's a question for you. Though the question still says how does science and technology affect the society, the question that I've got for you as person, when taken two cups, in one cup you have hot coffee, in another cup you have cold coffee. Okay, so here you have a cup which consists of a hot coffee. Here you have a cup which consists of a cold coffee. Among the two, which one will have more energy? Can you answer this question? Among the two, which one will have more energy? Now you may assume that it is a hot cup of coffee. Why it is hot cup of coffee is because when you touch it, it hurts. But when it comes to cold cup of coffee, it does not hurt. It has a soothing feeling to it and you drink the cold cup of coffee. But when it's very hot, you do not touch. You touch it. When you touch it, you get pain. It burns. So why does if a hot cup of coffee has more energy, why does it have more energy? So this is where we recap a first session where you have the two different ways that you can analyze a theory. One is called a unification, the other is called reductionism. Reductionism is where you take a complex problem, break it down into parts and analyze the individual quantities. Now in this case, the system, which is as a whole, I need to break it into parts. The smallest part that I can break currently are the molecules. Molecules of coffee. Could also be the water molecules that are present. These coffee molecules are moving rapidly in the cup. So they're moving really quick. When they move quick, what happens? Due to the motion of the particle, which is the molecule, the energy possessed by it is kinetic energy. So when random molecules are moving very fast, you have more kinetic energy. More the molecules that are vibrating, more will be the kinetic energy. And due to increase in this kinetic energy, the result energy will be more. But when you take a cold cup of coffee, kinetic energy of these molecules are less. Therefore, the energy is also less. So again, why does hot cup of coffee have more energy? Because the kinetic energy of the molecules in the hot cup is more, therefore it carries more energy. All right. So why exactly do we need to learn about kinetic energy at this instant? Because one such property of an energy, which I'll be discussing in the next class, energy cannot be destroyed, it cannot be created, but it can only be transformed from one to another. Let me repeat that one more time. Energy cannot be created, it cannot be destroyed, but it can only be converted from one form to another. So this statement is what we call as the law of conservation of energy. Don't worry about the picture, I will get to you. Law of conservation of energy. So in the universe at present, there is so much energy just in our surroundings. Now, if you have to consider the vastness of space, there's so much more energy. Now, all this energy that are around you, it cannot be created, it cannot be destroyed, but it is only transforming from one to another form. We will discuss more about this in the next session in depth. All right, so stay tuned. Do visit us once again at www.we-learning.in to get more details about the class ranging from class 1 to class 12. Now, the picture. Why this particular picture of a train? Now, I told you that energy can be transformed from one form to another, which is basically a law of conservation of energy. This hot cup of coffee carries more energy. This energy can be transformed into a different form of energy. You don't believe me that it does not convert? So here's one such example. This train is a steam engine. It is operated by steam. Steam is when you take water and you boil the water. The gaseous form of the water is what is known as a steam. So the steam carries more energy, and that energy is converted into a mechanical energy. So you see, heat energy is converted into a mechanical energy. So energy conversion from one to another. So for a steam engine, which is all right, which is very much in the past, but today we use a diesel powered train or an electrical train. Okay, but majority in India, since we all live in India, we use a diesel powered train. So charcoal is done and gone, but now we use a diesel powered train. Even in case of a diesel powered train, it converts the heat energy, which is by the combustion chamber. The engine itself has a combustion chamber where it burns the diesel. It ignites the fuel. When it ignites the fuel, there's heat produced. That heat is converted into mechanical energy. So again, heat energy into mechanical energy. So how different are these two? Well, in case of a steam engine, you had to use a lot of water. Plus, there's also additional a coal that has to be added very often in order to convert that water into steam. But in case of a diesel engine, what you have to do is just pour the diesel, operate the engine where the engine uses its combustion chamber, burns the fuel, the diesel fuel, and converts that heat into mechanical energy. Now today we have these trains which are operating at really high speed by help of electricity. So you see another energy conversion in the following example where electrical energy is converted into a mechanical energy. But you see the advancement in the train itself, one of the means of travel, which is train, how the advancement has taken place with the help of science and technology. From a steam engine to a diesel engine to an electrical powered train. So there are much more fascinating to learn in physics. but I will discuss what is the scope of physics in the future and what are the various subjects that we'll be discussing, that we'll be dealing with. First of all, in physics, you'll be learning water mechanics, optics, thermodynamics, electrodynamics, ray optics, wave optics, and modern physics. Mechanics is the behavior, to study the behavior of an object. What behavior of an object? As an object, to study when an object is at rest and to study when the object is in motion. What study will we do there? Stay tuned, we will discuss the study which is in the chapter Mechanics. Optics is where you discuss about light, the effects of light. What happens when light is incident on a mirror? The behavior of light itself is discussed in this chapter, Optics. Thermodynamics, thermo itself means heat. Dynamics, which is of motion, the study of motion. Study of heat in motion. So how does heat move from one to another place? Does the heat travel? First of all, when you take a piece of metal, let's take the situation where when you take a matchstick and when you light a matchstick, now you will not get, your finger does not get burnt until the fire, the flame comes close to your fingers. But if I take a metal and I put it right above the candle flame. So if I take a metal, put it above a candle flame, in 2 or 3 seconds you will drop the metal. Now it did not happen for a piece of wood, but why did you drop the metal? You would say it is because of heat. So heat traveled in case of a metal but not in case of a wood. So which means there's conductors and insulator which we'll be discussing, and how heat travels from one end to another. This traveling of heat is what we discuss in thermodynamics. Electrodynamics, electricity, the motion, study of objects of motion and at rest as electrodynamics. Objects meaning charges, okay. So here charges and here heat. So I was the study of charges which are at rest as well as in motion. Ray optics, where light is treated to be as a rectilinear propagation, as a single particle, as a particle moving along a straight line. So ray optics is one of the chapter. Wave optics, light moving as a wave. Now don't worry about that, we will soon discuss all of these in the next session. We will cover them, not just the next session, in the future session we will discuss them one by one about what is a wave optics and modern physics, what are the modern theories and their contribution as well from the scientists. Now when it comes to your first PUC, we will be covering the chapter Mechanics, Thermodynamics, and pretty much that's it. And you will have some chapters of sound related, which also comes under mechanics. Okay. For second PU, so let me write that as first PU, first PUC. And for second PUC, you have optics, electrodynamics, ray optics, wave optics, as well as modern physics. So all these are for your second PUC. Okay. So for the next class, we will do a bridge course. We will conduct a bridge course where we revise your high school portion and create a connection, a link to your PU as well as 11th standard. Okay. So a bridge course where we link the concepts from your high school to your college. So if you've liked the video, make sure you give a thumbs up, subscribe and click on those bell notification. Do further stay tuned again by visiting us at www.we-learning.in. So I will see you all in the next session, everyone. Until then, take care